Most students study grammar and they think it's everything. They think they need to know grammar, they memorize grammar, they take exams, their teacher gives them exams, and then they're tested on grammar, which is a total waste of time.
Hey guys, today our guest is Jeff Brown. Jeff is a full-time tenured professor of Spanish language at Orange Coast College in California and is also a natural language acquisition specialist. Jeff speaks English, Spanish, French, Italian, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Arabic. In fact, Jeff created a video called How to Acquire Any Language, Not Learn It, which is watched by over 1.3 million people with around 60,000 likes. In that video, Jeff clearly explains how to acquire any language with ease, like a baby, and also shows how he acquired level 5 language Arabic using this approach. I'm very happy to welcome Jeff Brown to the show. Thanks, Jeff, for coming to the show.
Yeah, thank you. You're very welcome.
Jeff, before we go into the questions, can you share where can people connect with you?
Oh, yes. You can connect with me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Polyglot a Lot. It's called Polyglot a Lot. And that's 4 words, polyglot a lot, on my YouTube channel.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, my first question is that I was shocked to know that you didn't study Spanish, but you acquired it through working in the restaurant. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's correct. Very few people acquire languages. Excuse me. Duh, we all acquire languages. Very few of us remember acquiring a language. And for me, I was fortunate in that I worked in a restaurant in Southern California at the age of 17. Now, Southern California, we have a lot of immigrants from Mexico, El Salvador, and Guatemala because we're so close. You know, we're only 90 minutes from Mexico. So we have many Mexican immigrants, many Salvadorian, Guatemalan, Honduran immigrants. So when I was 17, I worked in a restaurant. I was just a busboy. All I was a busboy, and I prepped food and I cut food and I was a cook. And I became best friends with these Mexicans, Salvadorians, Guatemalan, and Hondurans. And it was just the greatest experience of my life because they taught me Spanish. So I learned a little bit of Spanish in school, but most of the Spanish I acquired was at work, was speaking with my new Mexican and Salvadorian and Guatemalan friends. And so they taught me so much. So I could see and I could feel I was acquiring the language. I could just feel like I was acquiring the language. Every day they asked me questions. They told me about their stories. They told me about how they emigrated to the United States, their families in Mexico, El Salvador, etc. So it was a really powerful experience because I was just listening. I listened, and they told me all about their stories in Spanish. And they would give me little commands in Spanish too. Go there, cut this, say that, sit down, stand up. So it was almost like I was a baby. I felt like I was a baby acquiring Spanish. So, you know, even though I was taking Spanish in high school, it was nothing compared to what I was acquiring at work. So, and then in 1 year, I was fluent in Spanish. In 1 year, I was fluent in Spanish. And in 2 years, it was almost perfectly fluent, or I would say a very high level of fluency after 2 years. So after 1 year, I was like, whoa, I was amazed at how much Spanish I could speak. And a lot of the words, I would say most of the words, I didn't even know how to write. I had no idea how to write the words because I had acquired the language. And so when I teach Spanish now, you know, and I see people memorize words and memorize reading and writing, I don't like it because people today spend way too much time reading and writing and not enough time listening like babies. So they need to go back to becoming babies and listen a lot more. So that's my story. That's how I learned Spanish. Excuse me. That's how I acquired Spanish.
Thank you, Jeff, for sharing that. My next question is that why do many people struggle to learn languages?
Okay, that's exactly what I was just talking about. I'll say it again. Most people have trouble acquiring languages because they try to learn them. They think, oh, I'm smart. I can learn grammar. I can memorize vocabulary lists. I can memorize words, and then I'll speak the language. But it doesn't work that way. Language is too complex to be learned. It's just too complex. You cannot memorize 2,000 words, 3,000 words, memorize all of grammar structures, and then be able to speak the language. It just doesn't work that way. So what happens is people take a language class, and the biggest problem is most instructors believe that. Most instructors think that you need to learn the language first and then speak the language second. So what they do is they teach grammar, they teach vocabulary, they teach memorization, they teach reading and writing before speaking, before listening. So what happens is students spend thousands of hours uh, memorizing vocabulary words, memorizing grammar structures, and memorizing writing and reading. And they think if they can write the language and memorize the language, they can speak it. And it just doesn't work that way. Languages need to be listened. You need to acquire a language through listening. So if you're not listening to the language, you're not acquiring it. If you're not reading it, you're not acquiring it. Writing and memorization, almost a complete waste of time. That's the big.
Jeff, can you explain what is TPR?
Yeah, TPR is super easy. TPR means total physical response, and it was invented by a man named James J. Asher, I believe in the 1970s. But TPR has been around for thousands of years. TPR just means commands. So if I tell you, if you're acquiring English, so if you don't know any English and I say cry, ooh, ooh, laugh, ha ha, sit down, stand up, run quickly, you know, um, yell, ah, if I tell you a command, I want you to act it out. And that's the way we acquire language. That's just one of the tools we use to acquire language is through TPR. So when I'm acquiring a language, whether it's Farsi or Italian or French or Arabic, I always use TPR as one of my tools because TPR is hugely powerful. So I do, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes of TPR with my teacher every single day. And right now I'm up to around, I'm acquiring Farsi right now. So I'm up to around 200 words in Farsi. If you give me about 200 different verbs or commands in Farsi, I can act them out. Now, I can't tell you what they are right now. I don't remember what they are right now. But if I hear the word, I can act it out. Later, eventually, if I hear the word enough, once I hear the word 40, 50, 60 times, then I'll be able to say the word. But acting things out, TPR is one of the best ways to acquire any language. And we know that because all babies acquire language through commands. Every baby on earth, walk, run, dance, scream, don't do that, don't touch, don't sit down, stand up, sleep, eat. Every baby on earth acquires language through commands or through TPR. So we know for a fact that TPR works. I know it works because I use it, and I know it works because I use it in my own classrooms. When I teach Spanish, TPR is a huge part of my syllabus or syllabi. So that's TPR.
Jeff, can you also explain what is TPRS?
Oh, TPRS. Oh, I could talk for hours about TPRS. So give me 1 second. Let me take a drink of my coffee because this is going to be a big answer. Okay, so TPRS is something that was invented in the 1980s by Blaine Ray. And Blaine Ray is a Spanish teacher from Bakersfield, California. I learned about TPRS about 25 years ago when I was in my second or third year of teaching. And TPRS used to stand for Total Physical Response Storytelling. So what we did was we took TPR, which is commands and gestures, and then we put a story to it. We made a story out of the commands and gestures. But in the last 10 years, last 15 years, TPRS, we don't use TPR anymore. We don't need to. So TPRS now stands for Teaching Proficiency Through Reading and Storytelling, which means storytelling. So TPRS basically means we teach a language through storytelling. And we can come up with the craziest stories you have ever heard in your entire life. The idea around TPRS is this. We create either a simple story or a mini story or a 15-minute story or even a 30-minute story. And the crazier the story, the better. Because we know that the brain craves novelty. Once we hear something new and exciting and fun and funny, we hear it, we laugh, we remember it a lot better. So the way to teach TPRS is we create a funny story. We take students from our class, we have them act out the story, and we tell this story. The story lasts for about, I don't know, let's say 15 minutes, but we're constantly recycling the story. So we're using the most important words in any language. Where does he go? Did he go to Walmart? Oh, really? He went to Walmart. Did he go to Carrefour? Oh, he went to Carrefour. Oh, he did go. Why did he go? Oh, he went to buy chocolate. Did he buy chocolate? He bought 2 chocolates or 3 chocolates? Oh, he bought 5 chocolates. Oh, he bought 5,000 chocolates. So you see, I'm using the word bought. Bought in English is an irregular verb form. It goes buy, bought, bought, which doesn't make any sense. Bought? But that's the irregular past tense of buy. So I'm using the word bought. He bought? Did I buy or did he buy? See, now that's irregular. Did I buy or he buy? Oh, he bought. I didn't buy, he bought. So again, I'm just using the word bought over and over and over again, and I'm using it in a funny story. So one of the funniest stories we did, we do a funny story every day in my class. Every single day we do one funny story. So I'll tell you about the funniest story we did last semester. Now, of course, this was done using Zoom because we're not in the classroom anymore. It's all online teaching now, unfortunately. So the story was about Queen Elizabeth. We made a funny story about Queen Elizabeth, and it turns out that Queen Elizabeth makes tamales. Tamales are Mexican food. It's a delicious Mexican food. Now, in the tamales, she puts cats. Cat tamales. So, where does she get the cats? She goes out into the streets of London and she grabs cats. She steals cats and she cooks them. But one day she makes a mistake. She grabs the wrong cat. She grabs a cat who belongs to Alex, a boy in my class. So you see, now I put Alex in the story. Now, Alex, a boy in my class, says, "What? My cat?" I say, "Yeah, Alex, you have a cat." I say, "Alex, do you have a cat?" And he says, "No." And I say, "Okay, great." So we make this story about Alex, who it's his cat. Queen Elizabeth steals his cat, and Alex is upset. So what does Alex do? He yells, "No!" And Alex runs after Queen Elizabeth, and he tries to get his cat back. But Queen Elizabeth goes into Buckingham Palace and shuts the door. So Alex can't get into Buckingham Palace. So he breaks the window and he jumps through the window and he runs to the kitchen and he sees Queen Elizabeth with his cat and he says, "No." So he grabs a spatula. He grabs a spatula and he spanks Queen Elizabeth with the spatula. He spanks her over and over. He says, "Stop killing cats. Stop killing cats." And he grabs his cat and he runs away and Alex saves the day. Now, it's a crazy, funny story, but you have to remember we're doing this in Spanish. I'm doing this in Spanish and I'm repeating the same verbs over and over. Who grabbed the cat? Did Alex grab the cat or did Queen Elizabeth grab the cat? What was Queen Elizabeth holding? Was she holding a spatula or a knife? Who spanked who? Did Alex spank Queen Elizabeth or did Queen Elizabeth spank Alex? Did Alex spank Queen Elizabeth with his hand or with a knife? He spanked her 1 time or 2 times? 2,000 times? So again, I'm trying to use the vocabulary as many times as I can. My goal is 40 to 50 times. My goal is to use the most difficult vocabulary. Well, not all vocabulary is difficult. I want to use all vocabulary around 40 or 50 times. And we do it by recycling, going back. So she cooked what? She cooks regular tamales or she cooks cat tamales? She cooks cat tamales? Oh my God. So a lot of times I'll only say the word, I don't know, 5 or 10 times. But that's okay because tomorrow or the next day, we're going to go over the story again. And we're going to get another 10 repetitions of the same vocabulary word. So TPRS is huge. I use it when I acquire languages. Right now, I'm acquiring Farsi. I use it when I make a Farsi story with my teacher. We make crazy Farsi stories. And so I love TPRS. I do TPRS story in my class every day. We do one story a day, and that's it. Not everybody can do TPRS. If you're brand new and you and your friend are trying to acquire each other's languages, if you can't do a TPRS story on day 1 or day 2, it's fine. It takes a little bit of practice. I've been doing this for about 26 years. So for me to do a TPRS story I'm used to it. It doesn't come naturally to everybody. It takes a bit of practice, but try it because it's fun and it's funny. The most important thing about TPRS is it's funny. And when it's funny, we remember the vocabulary a lot better. So that's TPRS.
That's too interesting, Jeff. And Jeff, what is your opinion on grammar?
Mm, great question. So, in my opinion, grammar needs to be acquired naturally. I don't see any reason to study grammar. I see no reasons at all to study grammar as a beginning language student. If you want to study grammar for 5 minutes a night, fine. Look at grammar for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, etc. The problem with grammar is this. Most students study grammar and they think it's everything. They think they need to know grammar, they memorize grammar, they take exams, their teacher gives them exams, and then they're tested on grammar, which is a total waste of time. There's a thing called the monitor hypothesis. And the monitor hypothesis says this: if you learn grammar, you learn 10, 20, 30, 40 grammar structures, and then you study that grammar over and over and over again. You study grammar every day, and then you take an exam, and on the exam, you complete the exam. When you go to speak, you're going to think of the grammar first. You're going to think, okay, what's the correct grammar? Because that's all I know. I've been studying grammar for 18 weeks now. You're going to think of the grammar first, and you're not going to be able to speak the language because you're constantly going to be thinking of the grammar first. Grammar gets in the way. What grammar does is it creates this black cloud in your brain. So all you think about is the grammar, and you're unable to speak the language. You do what's called monitoring. Monitoring means you think before you speak. That's what's monitoring. And the monitor hypothesis says if you learn grammar, you're going to monitor your speech and you're not going to be able to speak the language. So for me, I don't study any grammar. I study zero grammar. So right now I'm acquiring Farsi. Farsi is a very easy language. I love the grammar. I love the language. It's so easy compared to Arabic. Oh my God, it's the easiest language in the world. So I have not studied even 1 minute of grammar. I don't care because I know after a year of acquiring Farsi, let's say I do, I don't know, just a normal year. Let's say I do 300 hours of Farsi in a year. For me, that's not enough. That's a very little bit. Farsi is going to take me about 1,000 hours. So let's say after 300 hours of Farsi, I speak Farsi pretty well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a Farsi grammar book and I'm just going to look at a little bit of grammar. I'm going to go, oh, okay, 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 I get it. But the most important thing I'm going to do is I'm going to learn to read Farsi. See, I'm not learning to read Farsi right now. No way. I'm not going to learn to read Farsi until I know about 5,000 words. So once I know about 5,000 words in Farsi, then I'm going to learn to read Farsi. And when I read Farsi, the grammar will come alive. I'll be like, oh, okay, I get it, I get it. And that's exactly what children do. Children don't learn grammar. Every child on earth acquires grammar. So I may never study Farsi grammar. It's possible I will never study Farsi grammar because I don't care. I know that if I listen to enough Farsi and I learn to read and write Farsi, once I start reading Farsi, I'm going to learn grammar anyway. So there's a good chance I'll never study grammar. But someday I might pick up a grammar book and go, oh, okay, great. Probably after about 2 or 3 years, at least 2 years, at least 2 years. So that's my answer for grammar.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, many language experts on internet says that correction is very important. Otherwise, we will continue to make mistakes. So what is your opinion on corrections? As you said, corrections is like ultimately waste of time.
Yeah, correction is a waste of time. Now, I know because I've interviewed Dr. Stephen Krashen, and Dr. Stephen Krashen read the research on John Truscott. So John Truscott and Stephen Krashen are both researchers. I don't know much about John Truscott, but I know Stephen Krashen has done a ton of research on language acquisition. He's written several books. He's a professor, or he was a professor at USC, the University of Southern California, and both of them have come to the conclusion that correction is a waste of time. In Krashen's book, if you read Krashen's book, it says that the research they did shows that babies are not corrected. Babies are not corrected. Now we know later on in life, sure. I remember when I was, I don't know, 7 years old, and I said, this is the goodest book I've ever read. The goodest book. And my brother or sister said, no, it's the best book I've ever read. Now, I was already fluent by that time. I was 99% fluent at the age of 7. The problem was some of my vocabulary was incorrect, and that's okay. So at age 7, I don't know, what did I have? Maybe 16,000 hours of language acquisition. We are corrected. But in the first 1,000 hours, correction is a waste of time. It's a waste of time to be corrected. So Krashen has proved it. John Truscott has proved it. So I don't correct my students in my class. They know I'll never correct them. And when I'm acquiring a new language, my Farsi teacher, she's not allowed to correct me. And when I help friends acquire Spanish, if I help you acquire Spanish, I don't correct you. So correction is just a waste of time. In fact, what correction does is it stops you anyway. Once you correct me, I'm like, oh, okay. The conversation, there's a pause in the conversation. I'm supposed to remember it, but I don't remember it because it just doesn't work. So why waste my time? We know it doesn't work. Stop wasting my time. Stop stopping the conversation just so you can correct me. And the problem is 99% of the people in the world think correction works because they remember when they were 7, they were corrected. But they don't remember being corrected at 1 or 2 or 3 because they weren't. They weren't corrected at 1 or 2 or 3 and it wouldn't work anyway. So that's my answer on correction.
Jeff, when one should start reading and writing?
Mm, that's an excellent question. And I know from talking to my specialist on reading that one should start reading as soon as possible. Now, if you're acquiring a language which uses the Roman alphabet or the same alphabet as you, for example, if you speak Urdu and you're trying to acquire Arabic, Urdu and Arabic use the same alphabet. So you should start reading immediately. As soon as you can, start reading. If you speak English and you're trying to acquire German or Spanish or Italian, and they both use the Roman alphabet, you should start reading immediately. However, there is a caveat. There's something you need to remember. You should only be reading if you understand 90% of what you're reading. So if you're in your first year of Spanish, let's say first month of Spanish, acquiring Spanish, you're not going to be able to read anything. Wait until you know, let's say 200 to 300 words, maybe 500 words. There are books with 500 words in it. You can find books that have only 500 words. In fact, TPRSbooks.com, I'll say that again, TPRSbooks.com has books written especially for language learners or language acquirers. And these are books written, special books written for people who only have a vocabulary of 500 words. So buy the books from there. You could read the news. Now, if you want to jump in and start reading immediately, read the newspaper. The newspaper is really good. I mean, read online, of course. I mean, you're not going to be able to find a newspaper, I don't think. Go online and read the newspaper. The reason is, number one, it's the same news around the world. We all know what the news is: COVID virus, pandemic, economic crisis, jobs. Nobody's traveling anymore. We already know what the news is. So once you go on and read the news, you already know what it is. But you're going to grab some words here and there. You're going to pick up, 5 or 10 brand new words. Oh, okay, that's how you say that. Oh, I get it. So in that case, it's okay. In that case, I would say go for it. There's no reason to not start reading the newspaper immediately. But it won't be as powerful as if you were to read, say, a novel where you understand 90% of what you're reading. So that's it.
Jeff, what is your opinion on flashcards?
Ooh, great question. I used to make flashcards. I made flashcards for French and Japanese and Chinese and Vietnamese. And after acquiring my fifth or sixth language for Arabic, for example, I just stopped doing it. I just stopped using flashcards. The problem with flashcards is it's basically memorization. It's basically like reading a book with one word. Imagine reading a book with one word. What a waste of time, right? So I don't, I don't believe in flashcards anymore. I don't believe in memorization. I just don't believe in memorization. I don't like memorization. I think memorization is a waste of time. I don't like to see students memorize anything. I myself don't memorize anything. I don't memorize anything at all. So flashcards are basically memorization. What I do is I acquire language through repetition, through storytelling, through TPR, through listening to you tell me about what you did yesterday. And after 40 or 50 times hearing the same word, I, I don't need to use flashcards. So I just don't think flashcards work. So that's my answer on flashcards.
Jeff, what is your opinion on spaced repetition system like Anki?
Hmm. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I know what repetition is. And I know that when my teachers ask me to repeat things, I stop them. If I'm acquiring Farsi or Vietnamese. And my teacher says, okay, repeat after me. I go, you know what? Just stop. Please stop. Don't waste my time. Repetition is a waste of time. The brain just doesn't work that way. The mouth doesn't work that way. You can't practice pronunciation. I'm sorry, you cannot practice pronunciation. Stephen Krashen, he told me he has some research, and they did research on pronunciation, and it's a waste of time. You you can't practice and work on pronunciation because once you think you have it, 10 minutes later, you don't. It doesn't work. Pronunciation comes from lots and lots of listening. And guess what? Chances are there might be a chance you'll never pronounce things correctly. A difficult language like Arabic, I will never pronounce Arabic correctly. It's just too difficult of a language. And I'm okay with that. I'm 100% okay not pronouncing Arabic correctly because, if I'm understood, that's all I want. Millions of people speak English with an accent. Millions of people speak English poorly. And you know what? That's okay. I don't care because I know they're doing the best they can. I know that it's probably not going to get better, and I can understand them perfectly. So pronunciation practice, repetition, waste of time.
Jeff, can you talk about sweet 16 verbs?
Yes, the sweet 16 verbs. Great question. Okay, so the sweet 16 verbs, I believe, were invented, not invented, but coined. The term sweet 16 was coined by a man named Michael, I forget his name. Anyway, they were coined by a man in California. And the sweet 16 verbs are the most important 16 verbs in any language. Any language. We all use the same sweet 16 verbs. And just off the top of my head, those are go, do, has, wants, brings, I don't remember, talks, says, listens, gives. I don't remember all of them offhand, but if I thought about it long enough, I could probably come up with at least 15. So the sweet 16 verbs are the verbs that we need to practice over and over and over again. And we need to use them in context, comprehensible input, stories, commands, just normal comprehensible input, normal conversations. We need to hear them over and over and over again. Not necessarily repeat them, but hear them in context so that we know them almost perfectly. We know them, as if they were our first language. And in Farsi, I've got them. Arabic, I've got them. And all my languages, mostly all my languages, I've got them because I know right away my job is to acquire those sweet 16 verbs first. If I can acquire those sweet 16 verbs first, I can have, 20-minute, 30-minute, hour-long conversation because we use those verbs so much. Those verbs are so important in any language that we need to acquire those first. And I already know what they are naturally. I know naturally I need to acquire those, like see, want, give, has, be, exist. Those verbs are super important. So I know naturally I need those. But in my own class, when I make my lesson plans, I look at the verbs, the sweet 16 verbs first. I choose 3. And on that day, we're going to hit those 3. We're just going to hit those 3 over and over and over again. We're just going to hit those 3. So every day I'm thinking of 3 different verbs. And we do it in present tense, past tense, maybe even future tense, conditional tense. We're going to use those verbs over and over again. So that's my answer on sweet 16 verbs.
Jeff, what is pop-up grammar?
Pop-up grammar. Yeah, pop-up grammar. I didn't invent pop-up grammar. I heard about pop-up grammar from a woman named Alina Filipescu, who lives in from California also. Pop-up grammar is when I'm teaching you a language and I see a, an opportunity to teach a grammar point for 1 minute or less, that's when I'm going to do it. I'm going to say, hey, guess what? The verb to be in Spanish, yo soy, and in the preterite, it's the verb yo fui is also the same as the verb to go in Spanish. I know that was a bad example, but what we do is we take 1 minute simple grammar structures and we teach them for 1 minute or less. The rule is it has to be simple and it has to be 1 minute or less. So that's what pop-up grammar is, and that's how we teach grammar. Now, our students are required to study grammar at home if they want, but we're constantly giving them pop-up grammar. I'll probably do pop-up grammar, I don't know, once or twice every hour, probably about 2 times every hour. I'll teach them 2, maybe 3 times an hour, 3 grammar concepts of just a minute or less, and then we move on. And that's pop-up grammar.
Jeff, many critics point out that adults learn differently from babies. What do you say about that?
Oh, I love that comment. I love that comment. Yeah, people love to say that we're different from babies, that we're smarter than babies. We can learn faster than babies. We have a brain. Our brains are already developed, so we can study grammar. You can absolutely do that. But you know what? If you do that, your language is going to be a lot less powerful than mine. If I acquire a language naturally, like a baby, with no grammar, no reading, no writing, just through comprehensible input, through storytelling, story listening, TPR, etc., through hundreds and hundreds of hours of comprehensible input, I'm going to have that language exactly where it needs to be. It's going to be right next to all my other languages. It's going to be right next to English, which is my first language. And when I go to speak the language, guess what? It's going to come out beautifully. My language is going to come out beautifully. And I'm not going to have to think when I speak. If I learn the language, if I say to myself, oh, okay, you know what? Guess what? I'm smart. I'm smarter than babies. I'm going to learn the language. I could absolutely do that. I could take a grammar class right now. I could take a Japanese class or a Chinese class, which most of them that I've seen are grammar focused. I could learn tons of grammar. I could memorize grammar. I could memorize grammar structures. I could memorize vocabulary lists. I could use my brain. And guess what? When I go to speak the language, it's going to be a lot more difficult for me to speak the language. And 5 weeks down the line or 10 weeks down the line, guess what? I'm going to forget. I'm going to forget a lot of the language because I learned it. It's going to go to my short-term memory. It's not going to go into my long-term memory. And it's not going to be as powerful. So forget it. Why would I want to learn something when I can acquire it and have it last for so much longer?
Jeff, when one should start speaking in their target language?
That's a very good question. One should start speaking in the target language immediately. As soon as you can say something, I start with yes or no. I start with yes or no. Oh, yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. And then you know what? I start with I want. I want and I have and I like. Those are my 3 favorite things to start with. On day 1, I learn I want, I have, I like. And when I see a picture of a car that I want, I go, ooh, I want that. Or a motorcycle, I want that. Or a pretty girl, I like that. I can say that. So I start speaking immediately. I want to start speaking immediately. Does it have to be in complete sentences? No. If I see a car that I have a Prius. Oh, I have that. I have. I don't have to say, oh, guess what? I have that exact car. No, that's not going to come for at least 6 months. If I see a sandwich that I want, ooh, I want that. I want that. I want. So start speaking immediately, just 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, and that speaking is going to grow. But make sure you're not speaking more than 10% of the time. Make sure you're listening 90% of the time and speaking 10% of the time. That's a huge mistake a lot of students make, is they want to do all the speaking. I have students, they're like, blah, blah. And I'm like, I want to tell them, dude, stop speaking so much. Just listen. You need to listen. That's why a lot of students fail at acquiring languages is they don't listen enough. They're too concentrated on speaking. They think that if they can speak it, they're going to remember it, which is incorrect. They need to listen to it. That way they remember it. So that's my answer on speaking.
Jeff, what do you think about apps like Duolingo?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, give me 1 second. Okay, so I actually, for the most part, I would say 99% I hate Duolingo. The biggest problem with Duolingo is it gives people a false security. It gives people false security that they're going to be able to speak the language. And I've spoke with many people who've tried Duolingo. The last person I spoke with could not say even 1 word. Okay? I know a woman who's taking Duolingo French. I don't know how many days or hours she did. And when I spoke to her in French, she just couldn't answer. The problem with Duolingo is it teaches language through memorization and translation. Memorization and translation together. So Like I said, anybody can memorize a language. You can memorize 1,000 words. I could give you a list of Spanish words right now and say, okay, in 2 weeks, you have 2 weeks to memorize 1,000 words. Guess what? You could do that. The problem is you're not going to speak the language. You're not going to be able to, the 1,000 words you know, those have not been acquired. So Duolingo, what it does is it tricks you, it deceives you, it's deceit. And it gives you the idea that because you've memorized 1,000 words or because you can translate 2,000 sentences, you can speak the language. And I wish people would know that that's not the way language acquisition occurs. Now, I said 99% I hate it. Duolingo added something very smart. They added stories. So if you want to use Duolingo stories, please use Duolingo stories. Go to the story version of Duolingo and just listen to the stories. I wouldn't do anything else. I wouldn't do anything else except the stories. I would acquire the language using my friend, YouTube videos, etc. And I would use the Duolingo stories version. So that's it. I think they were very smart to add stories. I think they listened to people like me. They listened to people like Blaine Ray, and they said, maybe stories do offer something powerful in the way of language acquisition. So that's it. That's my answer on Duolingo and other apps.
Jeff, can the language acquisition can be done online?
That's a very good question. Give me 1 second. Okay, can language acquisition occur online? Yes, it can, but it's not ideal. I don't like language acquisition online. I don't like online instruction for anything. I hate online instruction. I just think online instruction, you're missing so much. You really need people next to you. I need to hear you, I need to see you, I need lots of nonverbal communication, etc. One-on-one, I think one-on-one is okay. One-on-one is okay. If you're trying to acquire Spanish and I'm teaching you Spanish right now, it can probably be done. Most likely, if we have to, it can be done. But I don't like it. I just don't like it because I need a piece of paper and a pencil right here. I need to be able to write down really quickly. I need to hear you laugh, stuff like that. And that's very hard to do online. Now, one-on-one is okay. When I teach online, I've got 34 students. I'm going to have 34 students, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. I really don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't like the idea of online education. I know why we're doing it. We're in a pandemic right now. I can understand that. So I'm going to do the best I can. There's a man named Blaine Ray. I know I mentioned Blaine Ray before. Blaine Ray has been very, very successful teaching Spanish online, but he only has 4 students. He has 4 students, and he can see all 4 of them. He can see all 4 of them. And the big thing is their mute is off. Their mute is off. The biggest challenge with online instruction is when you've got 30 students, everybody must mute. Because the problem is, if 2 people don't mute and they have music and babies and cars and tractors and factories and lawnmowers, there's always going to be 2 or 3 students whose microphone is going to get in the way. So unfortunately, we all have to mute. So if I ask you a question in Spanish, ¿a ti te gusta el café o el té? ¿A quién le gusta el café? ¿A quién le gusta el té? I've got to wait 30 seconds for people to find the mute button, unmute themselves, and then answer. Oh my God, that's the worst part about teaching online. Or when people hide themselves, when they mute their cameras, when they turn their video off. Oh my God, forget it. It's terrible. I can't. If you're going to turn your camera off, you might as well not even be in class. How can I teach you if your camera's off? I need to see you, and I need to see your eyes. I need to teach to your eyes, and I need to see if you understand or not. If you don't understand, I need to repeat what I'm doing. I need to go back. And that's the biggest reason that online instruction doesn't work is the eyes, they're everything. And I can only see so many eyes at the same time when I'm teaching online. Face to face, in person, it's very fast. Boom, boom, boom. I can see your eyes. I can see his eyes. I can see your eyes. We're not getting that online. It's much more difficult. So that's my answer on online instruction.
Jeff, now we have questions from subscribers.
Oh, great.
So Andy is asking, I am not intelligent. Can I also learn any language?
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Language acquisition, you don't need to be smart to acquire a language. Our ability to acquire languages is innate. We're born with it. I think Chomsky talks about a language acquisition device. We all have a language acquisition device in us, LAD, in us. We're all born with it. We've evolved with that. A million years ago or 25,000 years ago, we didn't have that, and now we do. So we're all able to acquire a language. It doesn't take intelligence to acquire a language. It really doesn't. If I show you this and I say taza, taza, esta es una taza y dentro de la taza tengo café y me gusta café. Café. Oh, café. Café. You don't need to be intelligent to put the word cafe and taza. You're seeing the word taza. I just told you taza, which means cup, and I smelled the coffee. That you don't need to be intelligent. You need very little intelligence to acquire language. We know that because 99.9% of people on earth acquire languages. Even people with learning difficulties acquire languages. It just takes them longer. It may take them 3 or 4 years. In fact, when I have dyslexic students, I love dyslexic students because in my class, we do very little reading and writing. And they love me because they have difficulties reading and writing. And in their other Spanish class, guess what they did? Reading and writing. So when dyslexic students come to me, they're so happy because we don't do any reading or writing. Like, no, we only do like 5% reading and writing. 95% is listening. So they love my class. So no, absolutely not. You don't need that.
Kevin is asking, when should one start reading?
Okay, I already answered that, but I'll say it again. Start reading as soon as possible. Start reading as soon as possible, depending on the language you're acquiring. If the language you're acquiring uses the same alphabet that you know, then start reading as soon as possible. But the reading needs to be 90% comprehensible. You need to understand 90% of what you're reading for it to be effective. So if you don't understand 90%, it's not going to be as effective. It'll be a little bit effective, but you need to find things you understand 90%. So that's my answer on reading.
Jeff, last question. Would you like to issue a 7-day challenge to our audience?
A 7-day challenge. Yes, this is my 7-day challenge. If you're acquiring a language right now, I want you to go 7 days with no reading or writing that language. I want you to do 100% listening. 100% listening. Because the biggest problem people make when acquiring a new language is they spend way too much time writing the language and memorizing the language and reading the language. Just forget about reading and writing and memorization for a while. Just listen. Listen to the language as much as possible. If you have 7 days, 7 hours, just spend 7 hours listening to that language. Hopefully that's with another person and not a YouTube video. But if you only have YouTube videos to listen to, I completely understand. But don't do any reading or writing for 7 days. Just listen for 7 days. And you'll see how your language gets more and more powerful after listening for 7 days.
Jeff, can you once again share where can people connect with you?
Yes, you can connect with me through my YouTube channel. It's Polyglot a lot. Poly is one word, glot is one word, a is one word, and lot is one word. So Polyglot a lot with hyphens in between those 4 words. You can connect with me on my YouTube channel.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for coming to the show and helping us to become our greatest versions.
You're very welcome. Cool. So let me know when this airs, or send me an email when you upload this to YouTube, because I want to watch it if you don't mind.
Thank you. I will definitely do that, Jeff.
Subscribe to BNS Koku. Great.